What a fantastic day in the stock market today for pretty much everybody. So we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about Rite Aid and Walgreens merger. That's been very requested this week, so I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about minimum wage, Blue Apron IPO, which is happening today, actually tomorrow, Starbucks Fecal Matter. We're going to talk about Trump lying again, and then we're going to talk about some sports business news, some sports economic news. There's some big news in the sports world today, so we're going to talk about that. We have lots more stuff here. We're going to cover some stock market winners and losers, but let's face it, everybody was a winner today. So we're going to get going here. The first thing I want to talk about today is actually the Rite Aid Walgreens merger. So for those of you that don't know, if you don't live in the United States like me, Rite Aid and Walgreens are billion-dollar / multi-billion-dollar pharmacies. They're not like pharmaceutical drug companies. They are literally pharmacy stores. They are the second and fourth biggest in the United States, or second and third biggest. The biggest is CVS. So they're the place where you go to buy your drugs. I go to Shoppers Drug Mart here in Canada. In the United States, it's CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid. So in October of 2015, Rite Aid was proposed to be bought off and merge by Walgreens. This was October 2015, so this was a couple years ago. And then there's been a bunch of news reports out saying that the FTC, the Federal Trades Commissions, was about to block it. Over the past 2 years, this has been happening. So anyways, the stock has been going really up and down. Over the long term, it's been going pretty far down, actually. Actually, I can take a look here. Rite Aid as a stock, over the past, since January 13th this year, they have lost 65% of their value. 65%. That was until today. They are the big stock market winner of today, I believe, although they actually dipped down a little bit in the last 10 minutes, actually. But so, Rite Aid, their stock value, their share value as of right now is about $3.93. They had a big gain. They had a 9% gain today. They had a 9% gain today. Now they closed out at a 5% gain. So why did this happen? Well, it's because within about 3 or 4 weeks, the FTC is going to come to a decision about whether they will allow Walgreens to purchase Rite Aid, the other pharmacy company. And so news came out today saying that, hey, it looks like it's not just a possibility, but it looks like it's going to be a probability. Some bunch of analysts said it's likely. So I really don't like speculation whatsoever. And this is very, very speculative that some news articles come out saying that this merger, this buy-off is going to go through. And so why did the share price go up for Rite Aid and not for Walgreens? It's because of this. Because Walgreens in 2015 proposed to buy Rite Aid for a share value of $6.75 per share. Per share. And as of today, the Rite Aid stock is worth about, $3.93 per share. All right, so Walgreens is still overpaying, which you have to do when you buy a company. You have to overpay, but they are substantially overpaying right now. And so why people are investing is because if the trade goes through, they could theoretically get their shares bought out for $6 whatever cents. Theoretically, if they go private, if they decide to buy off all the shares again. So that is some big news today, because they're the biggest winner, and I've been really asked to talk about it. So what's my opinion on this? I mean, should this merger go through? I mean, yeah, I think it's fine, because then they're going to be competitors with CVS. And so now you're having one mega corporation, instead of one mega corporation at the top versus two slightly smaller ones, you're going to have one mega one and another mega one. So I think that's completely okay. It's not like Amazon buying like Google, right? It's not too massive. They're not going to cause a monopoly if they do this. They still have the main competitor out there. So I think it's completely fine. In my opinion, if I were the FTC, I don't know all the minor details of this, right? So just keep that in mind. But I would probably let this one go through. It's two large companies forming to become a very large company, but still like right on par with CVS. So anyways, that is some big news that happened today, because they had a giant gain today. They're the biggest winners today, but everybody was a winner today. Everybody. If you were a loser today, I'm very, very sorry. If you lost some money today, I'm very sorry for you. But anyways, we're going to move on to the next topic. Or actually, I want to tell a quick story, actually. So Rite Aid is actually the most talked about stock on the stock market subreddit in Reddit. And so people are always talking about how they've lost so much money since January. So I want to tell this story about this one guy who posted 2 days ago, I think, or yesterday. So gather around the fire to hear my, today I messed up story about RAD, which is the stock market ticker for Rite Aid. So I go to try and put a stop loss for RAD just in case things go bad tomorrow. I'm thinking $3.50 is where I will cut my losses. Well, I put a limit sell-off of $3.50. I was in at $3.93 and out at $3.63. And obviously the stock shot up drastically today, and he said, enjoy your yachts for all of you out there. So obviously that's very much exaggerating. I mean, in order to make, 50 grand on this, you'd have to put in how much money? 500 grand if you were to do that today to make 50 grand on the deals today. So I don't know who did that, but I just thought that was a little bit funny because it's one of the things that I always try to teach you guys. 1, don't speculate, and 2, don't panic. If you do speculate, don't panic, or else you're going to end up like this guy. See, here's the thing. For every one of those gainers that I talk about, like I've had pretty good returns, my dad's had pretty good returns, everyone in my family's had pretty good returns for the most part. For us to have those gains, largely, most of the times, there has to be some sort of losses coming from somewhere. Yeah, sure, the market goes up drastically in the long run, so in the long run, everyone gains. But for these daily fluctuations, for these weekly fluctuations, there's usually a loser for these things. And unfortunately, there's a lot of them on the Wall Street subreddit. So, moral of this is don't speculate. I mean, I always follow the 80-20 rule, the 70-30 rule that I follow, that I teach. 70 to 80% in safe stuff pays a nice dividend. 20 to 30% in stuff where you speculate, but it's a safe speculation. You're not betting on penny stocks. You're not betting on a merger like Rite Aid. You're betting on a stock like Amazon to go up, a stock like Google to go up, or Apple. Companies that are well established, that are not going to go bankrupt in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and will theoretically keep growing into the future. Anyways, we're going to move on to the next topic here. So, minimum wage. There was 2 minimum wage reports that came out in the last 2 weeks around Seattle. So for those of you that don't know, Seattle implemented a minimum wage, I believe it was $13 last year. It was $13 last year, which is, what's the minimum wage federally? It's like $7.50. So in Seattle, it was $13 in 2016, and they're upping that to $15 per hour, I believe, next year or 2 years from now. $15. Anyways, so there was this study that came out showing the effects of what the minimum wage has on the city. Will it affect unemployment? Will it affect employment? So the first study came out, and all of the people on the far left, the socialist, I don't want to say communist because there's not a lot of, don't support communism, very liberal people came out, and this report was great. It was like, hey, in restaurant businesses specifically, the minimum wage did not affect the amount of employment. In terms of hours worked, in terms of amount of people working, all the employees were just getting more money, but they were having the same amount of hours, so middle class was coming up. Good. If that was the report, good. But 2 days ago, or yesterday, another report came out that studied not just restaurants, but essentially all business sectors in Seattle. We're talking retail, corporate, whatever, everything. And this report showed, here I'm gonna read this out actually. It showed that there was a substantial decrease in the amount of hours worked for each employee making minimum wage. So a report from the University of Washington found that when wages increased to $13 in 2016, some companies may have responded by cutting low-wage workers' hours. The study, which was funded in part by the city of Seattle, found that workers clocked 9% fewer hours on average and earned $125 less each month after the most recent increase in minimum wage. Okay, so I just want to say one more thing, then we're going to get to this here. So the minimum wage went to $15 per hour, or is going to $15 per hour. The minimum wage increased from $9.47 to $11 per hour in 2015. And then to $13 in 2016. According to the report, under the law, businesses must raise the minimum wage to $15 by 2021. Okay, so we're 4 years away from the $15 minimum wage. Okay, so what are my thoughts on this? So, I mean, what did you expect? When you're raising the minimum wage, just doing quick math right there, from $9.47 to $13 in a year and a half, what's the math on that? So that's roughly 30% in a couple years, roughly 35% in a few years. That is a lot. A lot. So a 9% decrease is not that bad in hours. In terms of they're getting paid substantially, 9% less hours, but you're getting paid 30% more, this is still positive. If the unemployment is the exact same and there's 9% less hours worked, but the wage increases by 30%, that's a net positive. Okay? Net positive. However, $15, if that was a change to $13 and we're seeing a 9% decrease in hours, we might be seeing diminishing returns once it goes up to $15 per hour, if that makes sense. So for example, if the hours are cut down by 20% by 2021 and the wages only go up from 30% to 37%, that's not a good thing. That's a net negative. So I'm really interested to see what happens because I think it's important to have some sort of minimum wage. I think $7 is just way too low. Usually, for the most part, low-skilled workers do get paid more than that in the United States. I think, what's the minimum wage in Canada, actually? In Ontario, I believe it's like $13. Minimum wage, Ontario. Is it $13? I'm glad that I don't have to know this. $15. What is the minimum wage here? I think it's somewhere around $13. So the general one is $11.60 an hour. Okay. And the Ontario Premier right now, who's going to get kicked out, wants it to be $15 per hour. So just think of it from a business owner perspective. You're seriously taxing the business. We're not talking about giant corporations. Sure, they're going to get hit, but they're going to be just fine. But I always think of it from the small business perspective, from the people like me. That's why, for me, I like to, whenever I need some work done, I like to hire people on a contract-by-contract basis or a consulting basis, right? I'm going to have to hire someone full-time pretty soon. But again, like if I were to hire someone full-time and they wanted to pay the minimum wage, I'm going to probably pay them more than that. But that's substantial. Like that's the difference between me being able to hire someone and not. Like a $9 minimum wage versus $15. So what do you guys think of this? Do you think that the minimum wage Seattle thing is a good thing? What do you think the minimum wage should be in the United States? Leave a comment down below. I think, based on this, I think $13 is good, but probably somewhere between 11 and 13 is solid. Saying that, what's the math on that? So $11, let's say you make about $10 a day. Oh, $10 an hour. So you make about $100 a day. So you're making about, if you make minimum wage, you work every single work day of the year, you're making about 26 grand. And so on this, you'd be making 30 grand with this minimum wage. So that's good. You know what? I support this. 30 grand a year is pretty good for a minimum wage worker. So what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments down below. That's my opinion on the minimum wage. I think it's a good thing. People shouldn't be paid $5 an hour or $7 an hour when they're desperate. I think 11 to 13 is a good range. It's a good range. It hurts business owners, but at the end of the day, it's that whole Henry Ford thing, could raise the middle class and you could have more customers and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? Okay, we're going to move on here. Blue Apron. Blue Apron had an IPO, or is having an IPO, I believe tonight. It's either tonight or tomorrow morning. So Blue Apron's that company, you get food delivered to your door and it's semi-pre-made meals. Like it's a food package and then you kind of have to make it yourself, but it's not as much work as doing it from scratch kind of thing. And so they were planning on having this IPO for a few months. I've mentioned this before. And they were planning on having the share price, an estimate of $15 to $17 per share. I think that there was, 30 million shares that they're issuing out, somewhere around there. That was 2 weeks ago. That was their plan. But what happened 2 weeks ago? Does anyone remember what happened 2 weeks ago? Amazon. Amazon bought Whole Foods. And when you combine an online delivery service with a grocery company, that scares off investors to other grocery and food delivery companies. So the IPO for Blue Apron, they lowered their estimates from $15 to $17 per share down to 10 to 11, essentially cutting it in half, their estimates, simply because Amazon bought out Whole Foods. So what do you guys think? Would you invest in Blue Apron? Are you going to invest in Blue Apron? Let me know in the comments down below. For me, I don't like it. I just don't trust this. I usually don't trust tech IPOs whatsoever or app IPOs whatsoever. We've seen history. Snapchat's doing terrible. Twitter did terrible. GoPro did terrible. I mean, why is Blue Apron going to be different? I know that they're more of a food delivery company, but at the end of the day, they're an app website company, subscription, food delivery. It's all online, correct? So I don't trust them. However, I hope I'm wrong. As always, I hope that all businesses succeed. So we're going to move on to the next topic here. There was this article out. It was so stupid, but I'm going to talk about it because why the hell not? So there was a study that came out from the BBC Consumer Affairs Watchdog program, and they found that in 3 of the largest coffee chains in the UK, which are Starbucks, Costa Coffee, and Cafe Nero, I don't know how to pronounce that, that a large portion of their ice, by a large portion I mean, okay, I'll get to this in a second, some of their ice had been contaminated with bacteria that is found in feces. Okay, so that is bad to start off with. I'll finish this, then I'll give you my opinion on it. At Starbucks and Cafe Nero, 3 out of 10 samples of ice collected were found to contain fecal bacteria. However, at Costa, 7 out of 10 samples tested positive. So what does this mean? It means that some ice in these stores had some fecal matter bacteria. However, what the study didn't tell you was how much. Okay, so I have a science background. I did my thesis on Alzheimer's, and I have my majors in health sciences. I was supposed to be a doctor, minors in biology, chemistry. Like, I know my stuff for the most part here. They do not tell you how much of this bacteria was found in this ice. Okay, that's the very first thing here. There could be, if it was just one cell that they were able to find, one trace or a few traces, like 5 cells, that's not going to affect you whatsoever. Guess what? There's bacteria everywhere. Okay? So that's the very first thing. The second thing is that people don't realize bacteria like that, it's in like all ice makers that haven't been cleaned out in a couple years. It's in all of them. It's probably in your fridge too, and you're fine. Bacteria is everywhere. So what do I think of this? I mean, should these commercial places have a higher standard for like cleaning their ice machines and so on? Definitely yes. Should there be this bacteria? No. But will it kill you? No. It's not going to, because they're not that filthy. Okay? And so the markets in general were up like about 1% today, which is massive. Markets as a whole were up 1% today. Starbucks was only at 0.37%. This article came out, they dipped down a bit, then they went back up again. So what are your opinions on that? Do you even drink Starbucks? And is it the worst thing in the world if people that drink Starbucks were to drink some feces? Is it really? I'm kidding. We're gonna move on here. Don't make fun of me, all you people that buy Starbucks every day. By the way, that's a bad thing if you do that every day. $6 coffee, that's terrible. It's bad for your wallet. And it's bad for your intestines, apparently, too, if there's fecal matter. So we're going to move on. International Monetary Fund. So this is just a general thing that came out. Take with it what you will. International Monetary Fund, they cut growth forecasts down from 2.3% to 2.1% in terms of GDP growth in the United States. And they've cut down their projected GDP growth for next year down from 2.5% to 2.1%. Why is this? Few factors, because they don't think that the Trump tax reforms are going to do anything for the economy. Cutting taxes, they don't think that they're going to help business activity whatsoever. Okay, that's fine. I see that side. I think that it'll help a little bit. I don't know how much, but we'll see. They say it's also because the aging population in the United States, like, sure, the population's increasing, but it's a lot of old people, retiring baby boomers, right? They also say it's because of low productivity growth. I've touched on this before. Productivity is not growing at the rate it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 70 years ago, right? That's just normal. That's the way the world's going right now, especially in developed companies. Low productivity is still growing, but it's very slow. And the other thing is that unemployment's already at a really like near all-time low, and GDP is not increasing that much. Right? So that makes people a little bit nervous too about what the shape of the economy is, how, the middle class isn't doing too well right now. Middle class is the heart of the GDP growth, and it's not doing too well right now. So what are your thoughts on that? What do you think GDP growth is going to be? I think that, I don't want to make predictions or anything. I'm not really too good at macroeconomics in terms of like GDP growth. I don't really study that stuff too much. But what's the difference between 2.1 and 2.5? All right, in terms of the whole economy, yeah, sure, it's big, but at the end of the day, for markets, for your job, for your pay, it's not really going to affect you too much. The next thing I want to talk about, which is it's just a little bit funny, and it's business news, I guess. It's business news. I just thought it was funny. So Donald Trump was lying about Jeff Bezos through Twitter, and I want to talk about this. First, I just want to say, again, as always, whenever I talk political stuff, I'm not for Trump, not against Trump. I probably lean conservative on a lot of matters just because business is really tied into my life, but I lean liberal on a lot of policies as well. So I just want to get this out just by saying, so he tweeted this about Jeff Bezos. The hashtag Amazon Washington Post, sometimes referred to as the guardian of Amazon, not paying internet taxes, brackets, which they should, end brackets, is fake news. So he's pretty much saying that Amazon doesn't pay internet GST and sales tax. That's what he's saying. Now, it took me 30 seconds to just prove that wrong. Like actually 30 seconds. So 3 years ago, what he said would have been true. Trump, they didn't really pay HST or sales taxes 3 years ago, Amazon. They did in a few states. But now, in all of the states that do have sales taxes, Amazon pays those taxes. They pay that, they force customers to pay that HST. Or in Canada, it's HST, harmonized sales tax. In you guys, it's just sales tax, I think, in the United States. So they pay this internet tax in all states except for the 5 that don't require it. And so I just thought that was just like really, really darn funny, because you got this guy running a country and it takes 30 seconds to verify this, and he didn't, which is funny. He just hates Jeff Bezos, I think, because Jeff Bezos made a bad tweet about him 2 years ago saying that he'll send him on a spaceship to Mars or something like that. And then Trump's just like, Jeff Bezos, terrible entrepreneur, fake news, right? Something like that. So anyways, that's not even news. I'm not even going to ask you guys a question about that. We're going to move on to the next topic here. We're going to move on to, so people know that the healthcare bill got delayed a few weeks. It's going to happen around July 5th to 10th, 14th, somewhere around there. It might even happen before that, for all we know. But the healthcare bill got delayed a little bit. And so, well, here's Trump's response. He said, we need almost all of the Republican senators. That's never easy. I think we're going to get at least very close, and I think we're going to get it over the line. There was a great, great feeling in that room yesterday. I think this has a chance to be a great health care at a reasonable cost. People can save a lot of money. We get rid of the mandates. We get rid of so much. Got rid of a lot of taxes. All the bad parts of Obamacare, gone. Essentially, it's a repeal and replace. So I think that's one of the reasons why people were a little bit more confident in the markets today, saying that this bill will go through, just because he said this. Just because he said this, markets were probably up a little bit today. Now, most people are against this bill in terms of people who are Democrats, and anyone in the pharmaceutical industry apparently just doesn't like this for some reason, because the government's not going to be paying their bills anymore. So what do I think about this? Well, here's another stat here. So the Senate plan, the plan as it is, would lead to an estimated $321 billion in deficit reduction over the next 8 years, 8.5 years. So in terms of that, I think that's good. However, do I like that 20 million people are going to be uninsured? No, I don't like that. If you look at it on a macro scale, though, out of those, a third of those people, so we'll say 8 million, like really need it. Maybe even less than that, really need it. Few of them do need it, could probably still pay for the stuff themselves. I'm really torn on this, because I just think that you guys need some sort of universal basic health care. That would be my opinion on all of this. I don't think that this Obamacare is the way to go for fixing the healthcare system in the United States. I do think that it is a good thing, I guess. However, I think that this would lead to a bad system if this were to keep going. And so I'm fine with them repealing it. However, I think that the real problem just lies in the entire healthcare system itself. You guys need some sort of national drug negotiation bureau that, for whatever reason, you're the only developed country in the world that doesn't have this. And that's why all your prices are so high, a lot, and not paid for. Although Canada has pretty high drug prices, but we get subsidized a lot too. So I don't really know. I'm kind of torn on this issue. Sure, I don't like having 22 million people doing the math there. About 0.6% of the entire U.S. population losing their health insurance. but it could be good for the economy as a whole. What if those people get raises in their jobs? What if those people save an extra $100 a month or something on health insurance premiums? I don't know. It's going to help the rich out a lot too, which the very, very rich a lot. I think Warren Buffett came out and said that today, that this healthcare reform could save a lot of his friends, him and his friends, millions of dollars per year, which would be going to helping people pay for their medication. So I'm really torn on this issue. What do you guys think about the healthcare bill? I kind of go back and forth on it. I know for a lot of people in the middle, lower class, they're going to be like, why are they repealing this? I need this kind of thing. So a lot of people in the upper class are for it because they don't have to pay as much premiums for health insurance anymore. So we're going to move on from that topic here. We're going to talk a little bit about sports news, and then we're going to close this video out here. So sports business news, actually, because I don't talk about sports news on this. I'm thinking of starting just a general news channel, or not channel, general news video thing that I do on top of business news and entrepreneurship every single day. I might start that tomorrow. I'm not quite sure. But anyways, we're going to move on here. So big news today. This isn't business news, but Chris Paul got traded to Houston in the NBA. That's big news in the NBA. So they're trying to form another superstar team. So what does this mean in terms of business for the NBA? So for those of you that don't know, the NBA, if you have one superstar on your team, you are immediately one of the top 15 teams in the league. There's 30 teams. If you have one superstar, you're immediately near the top, so that increases ticket sales, increases popularity, jersey sales, and so on. And because one person can dominate, is on the floor so much and can have the ball for half the game, one person literally can influence a team from being just a playoff team from winning the championship, as we see with LeBron James. Whatever team LeBron goes to, he goes to the championship every single year. So what happened today was that the Houston Rockets have one superstar named James Harden. He almost won the MVP this year. And then a guy named Chris Paul, another superstar, is going to that team. Okay, so they're going to try to form a super team. And then another report came out today saying that another superstar might join that team, in Paul George. And so if that were to happen, the NBA is just, there's 4 teams that have a chance at winning the championship, and all of their 26 are just competing for nothing, really. And so this is a good and bad thing. So we have the Golden State Warriors. They're a super team. Everyone loves them. They sell out every game. There's 18,000 people on a season ticket waiting list. For season tickets, a waiting list. 18,000 people are willing to buy season tickets that have to wait. And Cleveland's another super team. San Antonio, I would consider a super team right now. And if Houston is able to sign Paul George, they're a superstar team. They're a super team as well. And I don't like it. I don't really like it. There's no parity in the league. The teams that suck are going to stay crappy because you can't compete when a team has 3 Hall of Famers on it. It's really difficult. I'm a Raptors fan. I'm a little bit salty right now. And it's really unfortunate. So, however, if that were my team, I would love it, right? And so for business, what this pretty much means is that, parity in the league is a good thing for the most part. I think that people like to see their team have a chance at making the playoffs every year, and this is, or at least making the conference finals or winning the championship, and this is killing it. Saying that, I'm going to be watching the Houston Rockets this year. So we're going to move on. We have 2 more business things to tackle quickly, and then we're going to end this video. Phil Jackson got fired from the New York Knicks. Why is this important to people who are not sports fans? He made $60 million over 3 years. Phil Jackson was the president / CEO of sports, whatever, for the New York Knicks. I don't know what his official title was. President, I guess, of the New York Knicks. They brought him in to save the team 3 years ago. And over the last 3 years, he has won 80 games and lost 166. So $60 million he worked 1,200 days, roughly. He made $50,000 per day. $50,000 per day, and made $750,000 for every win that he delivered. And his team is kind of in a worse position than it was when he came in. So that is big news. So what happened, that actually affected the stock today. By him getting fired, the stock went up like 3% today. Just let me check really quick here. MSG stock is up almost 2% today, just because he got fired. Plus the markets were good today. So I thought that was quite interesting. Him getting fired actually affected a stock. What do you know? And the last thing I want to talk about in terms of sports business news, was Connor McDavid, superstar in the NHL, best player in the league, apart from maybe Sidney Crosby right now, excuse me. He signed a giant contract today. He is 20 years old, get this, $13.25 million per year over the next 8 years, $100 million contract at the age of 20. For perspective, most people at his age in the NHL make about $1 million per year. $1 million to $1.5 million, sometimes up to 3 or 4 million if you're really good when you're 20. 13.25 he got. What would you do with $13.25 million at the age of 20? I was doing some math on this actually. $13.25 million per year. So for this calculation, I'm going to just assume he keeps all of it, which he doesn't. He probably won't even keep half of it. If he kept all of that, put that in a fund, in a savings account, where he were to get 1% per year, not even invested, 1% per year on savings, that's $135 grand a year in a savings account, in interest that he would get. And so what if he got an 8% return, $1 million per year? If he were to get invested in the stock market, he would make $1 million per year on his investment, plus save on taxes too. Now here's the thing with that about sports contracts is that when you account for Canadian taxes, so Canadian taxes are really, really big right now, although he's in Edmonton. Oh, so he's not going to have to pay state taxes. So that's good. A lot of state taxes. So he probably would get taxed in Ontario at about 53% to 56%. In Alberta, it's probably going to be around 45% or so, which is still a lot if you include everything. So half his money's just gone. Plus, you got to pay your agent, and you got to use some of it for expenses and doing all the hockey stuff, right? So he's probably going to take home about $6 million per year, which is still a lot. It's the third richest contract in history, in NHL history, and he is 20 years old. So I'm very happy for him. I'm always happy when people make money. So what do you guys think of these news stories today? I touched on kind of everything. I think we should touch on sectors before I close out here. Sectors, actually. So sectors, I mean, everything was up today. Everything was up today except for utilities. Real estate was essentially stayed static. Utilities were down 1% today. And one of my stocks was down 1% today, which really sucked. Actually, it was down... Yeah, it was down It was down 1.5% today. It's still in the positive since I bought it 2 weeks ago, but still. Let's see here. Telecom was up today 0.4%. Tech was up 1.3%. So major rebound from what happened yesterday to tech. Financials. Oh, I made some good investments there in the last few weeks. They're up 1.5% this week or today. I mean, you made money today. There aren't a lot of big stock market winners and losers today because everything went up. I guess the one big loser today was Advanced Auto Parts. They were down 3.6%. Checking in on Wells Fargo, they did well. Actually, in their after hours here, if you include their after hours, they've had almost a 3% gain today. So Wells Fargo's up. NASDAQ, they are, the index, sorry. It just takes a second to update sometimes. So it's a little bit slow when I have a bunch of stocks open here. So Dow Jones was up almost 1% today, about 0.75%. S&P was up 0.9%, and the NASDAQ was up 1.25% today. Wow, what a great day for the stock market. You probably made money today. I mean, everyone made money today, which is a really good thing. In my small portfolio that I opened a few weeks ago, I probably made about $100 today. So actually, no, if you include my loss, probably made about $50 today. Maybe around there. But I guess we'll see. Anyways, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. How did you guys do in the stock market today? Let me know in a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching. Oh yeah, I guess, shameless plug, check out my stock market program if you do want to see my portfolio, what I invest in. I'm also trying to upload my how to make money on YouTube kind of thing. I'm trying to get that up very soon. Hopefully I can start filming a lot more stuff tomorrow. But check that out in the link below. You're all very beautiful people, and I'll see you guys in the next video.